Alright, so test pretty dead. I'm gonna do a playthrough of Drake Danger to just talk about it. This is like my fourth take for some stupid reason. This is a game I made a couple of months ago for a semester, just because it was a project that I didn't really want to challenge myself on gameplay wise. I wanted to work on improving my skills in level design. Like a lot of my other games, this was very much inspired by how Flash games are designed. Because I think that is like level design in its purest form. It might not be the greatest version of level design, but Flash games are normally 15 minutes in length, so you gotta learn everything really fast. So that's pretty much what I base this off of. I wanted to make this 15 to 30 minutes in length. That's how long most of my games are, except for World Tour. Just because, I don't know, it's it's better to have... My mic isn't muted, right? Alright. Last time my mic was muted, like halfway through. I think it's better for people to get a little snapshot of what I want for now, until I have everything down, because like a game like World Tour is a big investment when it comes to my time. And for something like that, if someone gets bored couple minutes through and they stop playing, then what was the reason to have like the 25 other levels in the game? That it was just a waste of my time and their time, basically. So I feel like for now, while I'm not too confident in my skills, I'm trying to make these games pretty short and sweet. Just because I feel like, especially for a game like this, the mechanics don't go too in-depth. It's just simple platforming. Alright. But yeah, this is supposed to be testing your basic skills on movement, and the zombies were the last thing that I added into this game. Well, except for one other thing that we'll see in a minute. But they're simply just to spice it up a little bit, because before it was just platforming and that got pretty boring. So I thought that a good way to fix that is to add in a couple enemies, which is pretty much what they're used for in like Super Mario and stuff like that. In Sonic, they're more of like a pace breaker, or a way to dodge them, which again, same thing, you know, distract you from the platforming, because in general these are all platformer games. But what else? I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a loss for what to talk about. It's a little late. This game was also based off of Miles and Kilo, which is a fun game I played. As you can see, the art style isn't very... there's a little pixelation here, but there's a lot of round stuff on the grass. I didn't really spend a lot of time on the art style, because that's not what this game was really for. This game was really... I tried to get the programming as smooth and out of the way as quickly as possible. I've had a couple games where I've worked on them, and like after I got through the physics and stuff to make sure the game is fun to play, which I think this is pretty fun to play. It's I think it gets boring pretty quickly, but I feel like it's not broken or anything. But a couple of them I've finished it and I'm like, wow, I can't design levels for this. It's too like crazy, I guess. I'm loving the Spotify ad. Too crazy, so I just had to give it up. So what was I saying? So for this one, I wanted to get the coding out of the way. That's a cool camera effect. Coding out of the way as quickly as possible, so I could just go to level design, because that was really what I realized I wanted to do. So I've been trying to practice. Like, a problem with World Tour is, for a while, until recently, all the fights were pretty much the same. They were just on the same island with a couple shotgunners and a couple running enemies and maybe a turret or two. And I mean, I enjoyed it, but I think that it probably made the gameplay pretty boring for people. The combat cycle was pretty boring, so I've tried adding in new enemies and changing the combat situation so that sometimes there'll be like different types of enemies, all of one enemy, some in cramped spaces, and I've tried to really increase the bullet helliness of it, because that was what I wanted the original flying frags to be, but it turned out otherwise. Originally it was just turrets, and the flying turret. You can actually see the original version of it. It was like the second video I uploaded on this channel. But yeah, so I've tried adding in a lot more bullets. In that version though, I'm so sorry. In that version, it was a lot harder to tell where the bullets were, and a lot less forgiving. I like that gag on the left. I think that's funny. But I made the game, so it's my sense of humor, so. I'm sorry. Really at a loss for words. Pretty late. As I've said before. What was I talking about? This is the snow world. It's pretty generic, but I don't know. It's better because these were all grass worlds when I first made it. So mixing it up, I feel like the game itself is already pretty boring. So at least mixing it up will. Oh, and this is what I introduced the bounce pads. I can't believe I forgot that. This is where I introduced these bouncy pads, which are like the gimmick of this world. You'll see that every world I add in like a new thing to the recipe, which I think all eventually work together to make a very cohesive level. But this is all teaching you how each of the mechanics work. So like, this is teaching you how these platforms work. So this is one that's just normal, and you don't get punished for it at all. And then it teaches you how the bouncing platforms works. This has a combination right here. And then it puts a zombie in here. It's like a, teaching you step by step. And then here's like the big test of this level, which I failed apparently. I should have pre-baked that snow for all the future levels, because it starts coming down, which doesn't really make sense unless you're on the first level. Those scuba diving sections were the second to last thing I added. Not scuba diving, submarine. They were inspired by the Mario Galaxy game I played on Scratch that I referenced a lot in World Tour. Not really as an inspiration for that game, but yeah, a lot of the short games I played on Scratch I would say were a pretty big inspiration for the stuff I'm making now. Oh god, there we go, now I'm around it. Whether it's like Mario Galaxy or those 3D engines that I was really interested in, made by like Griff Patch and stuff. So I forgot that this was here. This is like a castle level, I think. A couple games this was inspired by off the top of my head. Miles and Kilo was a game I played on my Switch I guess this and last summer. It's a really simple platform, really generic, but I don't know why I enjoyed it. That was pretty fun. I think you'll see the most inspiration from that game. But then Mario Land was the game that I was thinking of when I was working on this. I wanted to make a game like Super Mario Land. Of course, it didn't end up like that. It ended up really like gimmicky. which isn't specifically a bad thing, but that's just how it ended up. Get over there, yes. And Mario Land is, it's a Mario game. It's pretty straightforward. Alright, get me back up there. Turn down Spotify. So, what else? Sorry, I've been really quiet. If you can see the shadow, you can tell that the player is actually a box and that the texture's on all sides of the box. I wouldn't say that's by accident. Just something that I left in. It's not a feature, but it's an interesting little tidbit. There used to be a 3D mode where you press tab and everything would pop out. But I decided that that was a little bit less cohesive and the arrows would be pointing in different directions. See, look, those boxes are 3D. You can see their, I guess, diagonal shadow. So, the zombies are just moving based off of the sine and cosine of the time. Probably with some sort of offset. Maybe not. I forget. It's been a little bit since I've worked on this. There we go. There's a little bit of a delay on the crouch, and I don't remember what that is from. You can't tell because you can't see my finger, but I mean the crouch. Can you still jump during the crouch? Yeah. So it doesn't have any particular effect on it, but it's just there. So here's where I start adding in bouncing zombies. I learned a lot from this that I put into my newer games and updates for older games when it comes to introducing mechanics, I think. And then this, I wouldn't say was made to be a pace breaker, but it is. I think I made this when I was quarantined in my dorm to keep me sane, but I might be wrong about that. Definitely didn't work. That's a joke. So notice that you get a bit more control of the boat. Because the boat goes faster, basically. So in conjunction, you get more control because it's moving faster, so you can go in more directions, basically. Originally it was, 6? Now it's 8 or something. So, I like these boat levels. I think they're alright. I don't really have a problem with them. They're like the underwater levels in Mario. Well, no, they're not really. They're like the version of this in Super Mario Land, where they have levels pretty similar to that. This is World 3. Nice little pyramid parallax, but not really, I feel like that might confuse players when they see it, but screw them, I guess. They're not going to be able to play this anyways. Apparently most computers cannot play this. It'll show it all lopsided. I didn't know this until Yish played it, and it did not work. This is where I really introduced the bouncing zombies. This is where they kind of become a mechanic of their own, which I wish I would have not put in that one castle level, because now they're everywhere. I forget if I show off anything else in this stuff. No crunch, then a crunching machine. Very ironic. This came out before Cyberpunk. Crunching machine does nothing. Just so you know, in case you were curious. You can't move. But it was just a stupid gag anyways. This is another accidental pace breaker. I don't really try to make any of my games that long. It's just whenever I think of something cool that I think would add to the game, I put it in. I'm not really a big fan of making expansions of games. I'll play them, but like making them, it feels a little wrong. I did that one for Flying Frags, and I really regretted it because it was not good, and it was pretty lazy. So I hope to not really do that much anymore. Closest I ever did to that would probably be Laser Blast, where I would make the quote-unquote DLC, but that was really just me adding updates to that game, not expansions. I was just doing the Call of Duty thing, where I would try to hype stuff up, because I wasn't done with the game at quote-unquote launch. You never launch a game on Scratch. It doesn't matter, because you don't make money off of it, and it's free. So it was really an alpha. Come on. But, ooh. Here's the new mechanic. It's these weird cannons, which, will, like, push the player based off of their velocity, but it doesn't work very well. So, like, you can probably brute force your way in if you get lucky. Like that. I would say this is more frustrating, but it gets to be really frustrating pretty soon. You can probably get pushed all the way up from one of these. Big sandwich fan. So this was originally called Doug Danger. I'm so sorry I had to tab out for that to remember. But I changed it to Drake Danger because Andy told me that Doug Danger was a real person. I didn't want people connecting a real person with a really bad game. But I mean, it happened to Tony Hawk. Then I guess it unhappened. But not really, because, like, whatever. The joke didn't really go anywhere. Let's just move on. So here the cannons are pushing up the bouncy blocks. I don't know what's going on there. I think this is like I kind of knew what I was doing for the level design, but I would say this is the more Mario Maker version of my like 2D level design, where I'm just want the player to suffer. Oh my gosh. There we go. Alright, let's see if I die on this part, because that'll also happen a lot. So this is kind of strange, because there was a bug where this plays like level 1 speed-wise when you're supposed to be going really fast. But, good for me, I guess. Just makes this part very slow. There's a little crash submarine. Story-wise, I don't know what that means, but there is no story for this, so, yeah. I should have pixelated the sprites, though. It's a weird mix that I mean, I'm fine with. It's really generic. And it looks like I used an asset pack because of it, which I did not. These sprites were all made by me using a sprite. And then the textures I made with Scratch, because that is the greatest drawing software of all time. Certainly faster than Illustrator. Can make the same thing in Scratch in like a fifth of the time, but if I want to make a, like I'm working on an enemy flag, I always forget about that. Working on an enemy flag for World Tour, I'm going to use Illustrator for that because it needs to be like a clean texture. But if I'm making like a normal map or like a basic texture, then hell yeah, I'm using Scratch. I have no idea what I'm going to work on after this. It better not be an FPS game, though, because I've made too many FPS games and I need to move on and make something different. Just not sure. I think that a 3D platformer might be a little bit too much, if I'm being honest. I keep trying, and I just can't get it down. I mean, World Tour is like a semi-3D platformer, but like the 3D platforming is pretty bad. So that's why I add in fighting. Like if you're going to play it just fully as a 3D platform, I don't think it'd be very enjoyable. Same with like Doom Eternal. That wouldn't be a very good 3D platformer. So we've learned from this not to take that shortcut. We're in. Okay, I think this is the last level. I didn't really want to put in a boss fight because there is no real combat in this. I didn't think that the Bowser fights in like Mario 1 were very entertaining. They were alright. I mean, like, but I don't think that I could have done anything better. That wouldn't have been a waste of time. I mean, I don't think that I could have done anything better. And even if I tried, I think it would have been a waste, and that you could have gotten the same thing out with nothing. And there we go. Game over. And my flying frags build is done, so I can test this after. So, thank you for watching me in the future, or anyone else.